Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager, and this is my fourth and final, at least for now, presentation for the betrayer, person who did the betrayal. And it is a part of the series. I thought it was very important for people to watch this and listen to this that have betrayed, but also the partners as well. Today, I want to talk about navigating guilt and shame. How do we navigate guilt and shame? Guilt is a sense of I did something bad. Shame is I'm bad. And so, of course, people that betray oftentimes feel those feelings deeply. Actually, if they don't, it could be problematic. It might be more of a sociopathic situation, but that is not typically what I deal with. Usually, the person who betrayed has some guilt and some shame. And what I want to talk about is that a little bit more about guilt and shame. I want to talk about how to forgive yourself without minimizing the damage, because you never want to minimize the pain that the betrayed person has gone through. Another thing, is it possible to live with what I've done? And another is, can I ever feel like a good person again? Which is related to forgiving yourself. And the last question is, what if I start to spiral into self-destruction? We'll get to all those five things. First of all, talking a little bit more about guilt and shame. Like I said, guilt is I did something bad. It's oftentimes like guilt is a very difficult feeling. Shame is even worse. Shame is a little deeper in the sense of I'm a bad person. Let me talk about shame first, and then I'll go to guilt. As I've been saying, because I've been accused of being too nice to people that betray, and that is so far from the truth. People that betray have have done what I have said an interpersonal crime. They It's a crime because they steal from the person they betrayed the opportunity to make decisions based on what is true. I've said this many times too. You drive up to an intersection, you need information to know what's the right thing to do. Should I go? Is it safe to go left or right? Should I stay stopped? Should I go? And we get this information through our senses, and now we can make a good decision. What the betrayer does is he or she deprives the betrayed from making a decision based on the true information. And to me, that's stealing. And that's a crime, not a crime that you go to jail for, but it's an interpersonal crime. So I'm not saying it's a good thing. At the same time, I haven't I don't see people as bad people when they've done bad things. I could tell you people that do bad things definitely lack some kind of moral fiber in those moments when they did that thing that is true, but why? And that's where I come to this very important understanding about parts. We have different parts. And there might be a part of a person that would never think about cheating, but there's this part that cheated. And we got to get curious about this part of you that betrayed not only your partner, but yourself, at least the part of you that values openness and loyalty. So you betrayed your partner, but you betrayed that part of you, a big part of you probably. So what is that part about? So I've talked about this in previous videos and podcasts, but what I'm trying to say here is rather than seeing yourself as a bad person, realize that there's a part of you that was trying to solve a problem and did it in a very poor way, and it hijacked you, and you can't let that happen again because it is an interpersonal crime. That's not okay. But to see yourself as bad is missing the point. It's missing the point. You are a person who can heal by being interested in that part of you. You are a person that can make better choices. One thing I've been saying is that oftentimes when people make a bad choice like this, it is their choice. As many people have said, it is a choice. It's not like anybody else made the choice. You made the choice. But there was probably other choices, good choices, that might have not been as available to you. Example that I've given before, grew up in a family where your feelings were pretty much ignored and you didn't have anybody to help tune into you. So you learned to deal with your pain on your own. So as you get into an intimate adult relationship, you don't have the option, at least you do, but you don't realize you have the option that if you're struggling, that you could go up to your partner and say, "This is what I'm feeling," and ask for what you want. And the partner would then be a source of soothing for you. And then, so in this particular example, and there are many others, that's not really a conscious option for you. That's something you're gonna have to learn how to do. That's people like me do help you do that. So the thing is, to think you're bad is missing the boat. It's more about you've got to become a student of yourself and be aware of what's going on and what made you do this interpersonal crime so that you can learn from it. And so you don't need, it's incorrect to think of you as a bad person. So that shame is not useful to you or your partner. Now regarding guilt, you did something bad. And guilt is important because guilt keeps us in line. And I look at it as like an indicator light, like we have in a car. If you're driving and you need gas, yeah, need gas, get off the road, get some gas. That's good. Guilt, oh, I got to pay attention to this. This is not okay. I've got to change this. The purpose of guilt to me is to get your attention and you need to make changes. And it's not really advantageous to hold on to guilt. It's not advantageous to you or your partner, especially once you've learned your lesson, once you've learned what you got to learn, once you've understood that part of you that you need to now pay attention to so that you could unburden that part and not let that part hijack you into making decisions that betray your partner and betray that part of you that wants loyalty, that values loyalty and honesty. Okay, next question. And I think a lot of these questions will flow from what I just said. But how do I forgive myself without minimizing the damage? Again, never. One of the things that people that are betrayed do is they so much don't want to feel guilt or shame. They want their partner to just get over it. And it's not fair to the partner because that partner of yours that got betrayed has a process, a healing process that they need to go through. And it's not on your schedule. And that's why it's so important for you to deal with your own guilt and your own shame and not make your partner the custodian of and regulator of your feelings because you're going to ask them to get over it and you're going to minimize the damage. At the same time, just like I was saying a minute or two ago, is you need to learn your lessons. Hopefully your partner can forgive you, but you can give yourself permission to, as you're changing from the inside out, if you're not doing the work, then don't forgive yourself. There's nothing to forgive until you do the work. But if you're doing the work and you're understanding yourself and you're recognizing what made you do what you did, and you're learning other ways to regulate your emotions where you don't betray, then you can, the forgiving is a letting go of the holding on to the self-condemnation. It really is not necessary at that point. It's not necessary. Once you're committed to becoming a better version of yourself, a more integrated version of yourself, where the part that betrayed doesn't run you ever again. So it's giving yourself permission. Next question, is it possible to live with what I've done? Absolutely. One of the things I have said to many of my individuals and couples is that as we go through life, we learn it's not simple and it's not always tidy. It's complex and it can be messy. And what you did was difficult and hard for the other person and yourself now too. Maybe even while you were cheating. A lot of people that report to me that cheating was a terrible time. They hated having the secret, but they did it anyway. But anyway, my point is that the metaphor I use is that if I have, if I get in an injury and I have a scar, like I do have a little scar here, it's hard to see, and I have another scar from skin cancer on my neck. Actually, another one on my head. Hard to see that. But even on my neck, I'm still beautiful. Okay? Scars don't make me less beautiful. You have a scar. Your marriage or your committed relationship has a scar, but it doesn't take away from the beauty. We need to wrap around our arms around that. Yeah, there's complexity in life and things aren't always clean. And we need to learn and repair. And that's more important than having a perfect life, a perfect relationship that's unscarred. There are many, almost all couples, if maybe I should say all couples have scars, maybe not the scar of infidelity, but there's some things that happen along the way through conflict and through immaturity that cause that. And we need to learn how to repair. So it is very possible to live with what you've done if you take that mindset. Next question, can I ever feel like a good person again? Again, it's yes, you are a person who had, I'll say, unconscious parts of you, or the parts of you that betrayed yourself and your partner. And as you repair yourself and as you repair your relationship and you do the work on yourself and on the relationship, why not feel like a good person? You are, we are fluid. We are fluid. As long as we allow ourselves to be fluid and don't stay stuck in inertia in the same old, then we're fluid and we can move through life and allow ourselves to feel good that we're making better choices now than we used to. And the last question is, what if I spiral into self-destruction? Because it's great when people are just growing and moving, but sometimes people hit a skid and they start to act out. And I have seen when people, the stronger the commitment to growth, the less chance that happens. But sometimes people make like a partial commitment, but not all the way. And this part of them can get hijack them, and then they feel guilty and shame, and then they go, whatever, the slippery slope, and they get into more stuff. And so if that's the case, stop and reach out. Don't do this on your own. Find someone like myself who has a lot of experience with this kind of thing and to help you heal again. Sometimes people, they do hurtful things, they learn, they heal, but they don't make that full commitment, whatever the case may be, and they slip into it, or some things happen in life to make it challenging and they just slip and people relapse. Yes, people do relapse. Can happen. Yeah, if that's the case, yeah, you just need to reach out. Just reach out to me, reach out to someone like me, reach out to a support group. Sometimes people go to a 12-step like Sex Addicts Anonymous or Sexaholics Anonymous and get sponsors and they jump right in. This is not something to mess around with. You're not alone. You don't have to do this alone. So anyway, that's my information I wanted to give you about navigating guilt and shame. And I hope you found this valuable and share this with others, partners, and other people that you feel would benefit from this. So I appreciate you listening. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.